Appreciate you joining me. It's good to see you. We're going to be thinking about Lydia today. Our hymn is the hymn, Shall We Gather at the River?
Shall we gather at the river, where bright angel feet have trod, with its crystal tide forever flowing by the throne of God? Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God.
All right, our passage is found in Acts 16. Therefore, verse 11, therefore, sailing from Troas, we ran a straight course to Samothrace, and the next day came to Neapolis, and from there to Philippi, which is the foremost city of the part of Macedonia, of that part of the Macedonia colony. And we were staying in that city for some days, and on the Sabbath day we went out of the city to the riverside, where prayer was customarily made, and we sat down and spoke to the women who met there. Now a certain woman named Lydia heard us. She was a seller of purple from the city of Thyatira, who worshipped God. The Lord opened her heart to heed the things spoken of by Paul, and when she and her household were baptized, she begged us, saying, If you have judged me faithful to be faithful to the Lord, come to my house and stay. And so she persuaded us. So, here at the riverside, to think about our points, one thing I'd ask you to consider, the Lord opened her heart. Sometimes we try to jump through hoops to try to explain, and we need to explain how things are happening. But at the same time, we need to recognize, is it wrong to say the Lord had done this? The Lord opened her heart. We're not saying, we need to understand the Lord didn't miraculously open her heart. That's not how the Lord works. No, the Lord is working through the gospel. But what I want you to consider and understand is that it is the Lord working. That this is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. I understand we have our part to play. I understand that. But even as we look at, did Lydia have to believe? Yes, we're not saying she didn't. But when we look at it, who gets all the glory? Who's doing this? The instrument needs to be understood, and so the how it's being done should be understood. But the who is doing it needs to be recognized. It is not wrong for us to simply say what the passage says. The Lord did this. The Lord opened her heart to heed the things spoken by Paul. Again, we need to understand how he did that, but we need to believe that he did it. Otherwise, we're going to become very works salvation, at least sounding, if not believing. The Lord did this. The Lord opened her heart. Now, how does the Lord do that? It's through the preaching of the gospel. We're not ashamed of the gospel. It is the power of whom? Of God unto salvation. We were talking in our Sunday night study here in North Ridgeville, talking about the sower, and made the point, that fourth soil, the good soil. Well, without the seed, what is good soil? It's just dirt. That's all it is. It's just dirt. It may be good dirt, but it's just dirt. Where is the power? It's in the seed. The Lord has done this. It is marvelous in our eyes. Second point I want to make says, and when she and her household were baptized. And I just thought it's just wonderful. They had come to the riverside to pray. Well, why had they done that? It's because it's custom. But why would you go to the riverside? There is something about water, and it's just one of my favorite places to go. is I love to stay by a river. One of my favorite places to go is down in between Mississippi and Louisiana on the Mississippi, and you're just there by the river. And I was just thinking about how wonderful it was that Lydia had come there by the river to pray. And as she heard the gospel, she very easily could have said, "Here is water, what hinders me from being baptized?" Like the eunuch did. Well, what's the difference between Lydia and the eunuch? What's the difference? Well, the eunuch, they were traveling through desert and they happened to come to water. Here, they were already next to water. The water they had come to pray by, and now they could go down into the water and be baptized. She and her family were baptized. I don't know if she went home or if they were there with, don't know. But she and her household were baptized. She begged us, saying, "If you've judged me faithful to the Lord, come to my house and stay." And I think that's wonderful as well, because the faith did not stay by the river. No, the faith came home, if you will. The faith came home not only here, but also, this begins the account of, this is why Paul and Silas are in Philippi, as you can see there at the bottom of the screen, and Paul and Silas are going to be in prison, and you're going to have the account of the Philippian jailer. Now, if you're familiar with that account, when Paul and Silas finally come out of prison, guess who they go to stay with? They went out of the prison and entered the house of Lydia. And when they had seen the brethren, they encouraged them and departed. That may have taken a good bit of courage. I'll add this little tidbit as well. Lydia, seller of purple from the city of Thyatira. If you've ever studied Thyatira, usually from Revelation, the first few chapters in Revelation, you know that Thyatira, they had the trade guilds. And if you did not bow the knee, those trade guilds, they had pagan gods. And if you didn't bow the knee to those gods, then you couldn't do business. You were not allowed to conduct business in those, perhaps in those cities. In Thyatira, that's how it was. And that may have been the reason that Lydia was in Philippi. She may have had to have left. She may have had to have left home because she was God-fearing. That may have been why she was in Philippi. And now she hears the gospel, and all of a sudden someone's in trouble, and she says, "My home is still open. Come stay with us. Come stay with us." And that's what they did. Lydia, wonderful account. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good day. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our Daily Praise.